Imagine earning a solid income, something most people would consider comfortable, and still feeling like you're barely keeping your head above water. You're not imagining it. Millions of people today feel exactly the same way, and it isn't because they are bad with money, lazy, or irresponsible. It's because the way we perceive money, value, and success has changed dramatically in recent years, and our psychology has not caught up. Feeling poor, even when your paycheck seems more than adequate, is now a widespread phenomenon, and it has little to do with how much you earn. It has everything to do with how your mind interprets what you have compared to what you expect and what others appear to have. Most people grow up believing that earning more money will automatically make life easier. From a young age, we are told to study hard, get a good job, and climb the corporate ladder, with the implicit promise that each raise, promotion, or bonus brings comfort, freedom, and security. But reality has shifted. In 2026, even those with six-figure salaries are reporting that they feel financially squeezed. Rising costs, lifestyle creep, invisible financial pressures, and subtle behavioral traps mean that even decent earners can feel financially stressed. This isn't a story about failure. It's about how modern life, social comparison, and human psychology interact to make financial stress feel almost inevitable. The first factor is social comparison. Humans are inherently comparative creatures. We measure our success, often subconsciously, against the people around us. If your neighbor buys a new luxury car while you are still driving a modest sedan, your brain interprets that as a shortfall. You might have a stable home, savings, and a comfortable life, yet your internal radar is signaling that you are falling behind. This comparison isn't just visual, it extends to social media, where curated snapshots of success flood our feeds daily. The lavish vacations, the upgraded gadgets, the newly renovated homes create an invisible benchmark. Even when your personal finances are healthy, your perception is skewed, making you feel less than, behind, or underprivileged. Next is the relentless rise of everyday costs. Inflation has become more than an economic headline, it's a psychological weight. Essentials like rent, groceries, energy bills, insurance, and healthcare have been steadily rising, often outpacing wages. For someone earning a decent salary, what once felt comfortable now feels tight. You may still be saving a percentage of your income, but the mental pressure increases because your discretionary spending feels constrained. Even a modest increase in income can vanish quickly as the cost of living climbs, leaving your sense of financial freedom essentially unchanged. The irony is that your numbers might look fine on paper, yet the emotional reality is one of stress, frustration, and constant vigilance over every expense. Lifestyle creep is another silent thief of contentment. As people earn more, their spending patterns often shift in subtle ways. That extra $500 from a raise might go immediately toward a slightly bigger apartment, a more expensive restaurant, a new gadget, or a brand-name clothing upgrade. What feels like a financial reward is often absorbed entirely by upgraded habits, leaving no real increase in long-term comfort or savings. Your lifestyle adapts automatically, almost without conscious thought, and your financial satisfaction remains stagnant. The more subtle and incremental the upgrades, the harder it is to notice the pattern until it has already drained your discretionary income. Behavioral science shows that humans tend to prioritize immediate gratification over long-term planning. The brain is wired to respond more strongly to immediate pleasures and pains than to future gains. This means that small spending decisions, buying a few extra coffees each week, upgrading a streaming subscription, or picking a slightly more expensive grocery brand, can accumulate to significant financial impact over time. While each individual choice seems minor, the cumulative effect is enormous, silently reinforcing the feeling of being perpetually behind. This isn't about irresponsibility, it's about how our minds process rewards, losses, and comparisons. Beyond personal behavior, systemic factors amplify these feelings. The middle class today faces pressures that previous generations did not. Housing markets in urban areas have skyrocketed, making homeownership feel unattainable for many. Energy costs, transportation, and childcare are increasingly expensive. Even with a stable, decent income, the average household spending commitments are larger than they used to be, and unexpected expenses can destabilize a budget almost immediately. What this creates is a feedback loop. You earn enough, you spend enough to meet expectations, costs rise, stress rises, and you still feel financially inadequate. It's a modern trap that has more to do with environment and social expectations than personal failure. Psychologically, this creates a tension between objective financial reality and subjective perception. You might have a robust emergency fund, invest consistently, and still feel stressed. That stress manifests as worry about bills, insecurity about job stability, or anxiety about future expenses. These feelings are real and powerful, yet they are disconnected from your actual financial health. The mind interprets money not just as a numerical resource, but as a measure of status, security, and social acceptance. When those signals are misaligned, you feel poor even if your bank account is healthy. Understanding this helps reframe the problem. The key insight is that feeling poor rarely is about absolute income. It's about relative comparison, expectations, and habits. If your neighbor upgrades their lifestyle, your brain registers loss regardless of your actual financial position. If costs rise and your lifestyle adapts, you feel squeezed even when your income increases. And if your spending patterns align more with status or perception than necessity, financial satisfaction remains elusive. These are psychological realities, not moral judgments. One of the most effective ways to address this is through conscious perspective shifts. Redefining what enough means in practical terms is a critical first step. Instead of measuring financial success against neighbors, friends, or social media posts, measure it against personal goals, long-term security, and lifestyle alignment. What do you actually need to live comfortably, pursue your passions, and maintain stability? By setting clear boundaries and expectations for yourself, you reduce the constant tug-of-war between desire and reality. This alone can significantly alleviate the stress associated with feeling poor. Another essential approach is to audit habitual spending. Small recurring expenses, often overlooked, accumulate into substantial monthly commitments. Subscription services, convenience fees, and impulse purchases are modern financial friction points. Identifying these and making intentional decisions about which expenses add real value to life can reclaim both money and mental clarity. This isn't about deprivation, it's about conscious control, awareness, and prioritization. By shifting the focus from reactive spending to intentional spending, your perception of abundance increases, even if your income remains constant. Reframing your financial mindset also involves acknowledging systemic pressures without internalizing them as personal failures. Inflation, rising costs, and social comparison are external realities. You cannot control macroeconomic trends, and comparing yourself to every peer or influencer is psychologically corrosive. By recognizing which factors are internal, your habits, choices, and mindset, and which are external, market trends, social pressures, you regain control over what truly matters. This mental clarity reduces stress and allows for strategic decision-making rather than reactive, anxiety-driven choices. Even more, developing long-term habits can create a sense of security that overrides fleeting stressors. Automating savings, investing consistently, and creating a cushion for unexpected expenses shifts focus from scarcity to stability. Over time, this builds confidence and demonstrates tangible progress, counteracting the feeling of being constantly behind. The psychological impact of seeing incremental growth is profound, as it signals competence, control, and future readiness, which are far more powerful than moment-to-moment comparisons. Even with a decent income, feeling poor is now the modern reality for many. It is rooted in a combination of social comparison, lifestyle creep, psychological biases, and systemic pressures. Recognizing these factors allows you to break the feedback loop and regain control. Redefining enough, auditing habitual spending, automating security measures, and shifting focus from comparison to intentionality are concrete steps to reduce stress and increase financial satisfaction. Wealth is not just about numbers, it is about clarity, perspective, and strategic alignment between resources and priorities. Ultimately, the message is empowering. Feeling poor does not equal failure. It does not indicate that your income is insufficient or that you lack intelligence or discipline. It is a reflection of how modern life is structured, how our brains process wealth and comparison, and how subtle behavioral patterns influence perception. By acknowledging these truths, you can reclaim confidence, calm, and a sense of control over your finances. The harsh reality is that modern life is designed to make people feel financially insecure, but the practical, psychological tools to overcome it are available, and they work. The feeling of being behind, stressed, or under-resourced does not have to define your financial life. With awareness, intentionality, and strategic perspective shifts, even those earning what society considers a decent income can experience real, lasting financial satisfaction. Money is a tool, not a measurement of personal worth. By focusing on control, clarity, and intentional decisions rather than comparison, modern financial pressure can be neutralized and peace of mind restored. Even if you never earn a fortune, even if the world around you is spending and upgrading faster than you can feel wealthy by understanding the invisible forces shaping your perception and taking deliberate steps to align your life with your goals. This is the truth that most people never hear. Income alone does not determine financial contentment. Mindset, habits, and clarity determine whether you feel rich, secure, and capable, or stressed, anxious, and behind.